Hi, it's me again. I was born in 1969, so I grew up, so my childhood was through the 70s, and it was a very different experience than it is now, obviously, when Jasmine and Holly grew up, when it was the 2000s. So we're going to talk about the differences in our childhood growing up. Yeah, definitely. When you were born, it was starting, and people had mobile phones. I think in the 2000s I had a Motorola. It was called a Razor. It was a flip up one, and they were the like really cool phone. They were like the iPhone of now. Yeah, I had one of those, and mine was like a purple, sort of a burgundy colour. When I got that, I thought I'd really come up in the world of phones. I think so. But I do remember you had your first phone when you was about 10, and you got it, I think you got it quite early because Dad wanted to be able to text you because myself and Jasmine's dad had divorced, and Jasmine's dad wanted to be able to text Jasmine because he couldn't talk to her on the phone. But that was very, very different from when I grew up, and the phones we had then, you'll laugh when you see the phones we had then. These were our phones back in the day. These were our phones, and it had and you couldn't move about. It was like stuck to one place because it was plugged in. You'd lift up the handset and you'd have to turn it round, and it would go all the way round from naught and then back again, and then the next number, and then back again. But yeah, that was just like, he bought that because he wanted like an old-fashioned phone. But when I was a teenager, people were using the press button ones, but you still couldn't walk around with it. No one had cordless phones, so that was quite different. Yeah, years ago I used to smoke. Yeah, that's when the smoking ban came in pubs and restaurants in England. But when I was growing up, nearly everybody smoked. Like nearly everyone's mum and dad I knew, they all smoked. People smoked in hospitals, people smoked on planes. But the funniest thing is, when I was a child growing up, they even had sweets, candy. They were like sticks, white sticks. And they looked like cigarettes. And used to pretend, yeah, we used to get the candy. We think it was cool smoking on our candy sticks. It was really funny. What was the TV like when you were growing up? Yeah, it was. Oh, they were rubbish. The subtitles were quite bad, weren't they? Yeah, they were. But I think when you was about 7, I started adding the subtitles on the TV just so that it would help you with your reading. When I grew up in the 70s, we had 3 channels. That was all, only 3. And I think the children's TV was on for about 2 hours a day, and that was it. We didn't have anything else. You got a much better deal on the television. Oh yeah, it was very different. Yeah, we had Wimpy in the 70s, and it was the only burger restaurant. There wasn't anything else. No, McDonald's. I think that was out in the early 1980s, I think. So it was literally Wimpy, and it was a real treat if your mum, maybe once a month, or if you were lucky, you got taken on a Saturday to Wimpy. It was a really, really special treat. Yeah, I think it's less popular, but I still prefer Wimpy. I think it fills me up more. It like fills me up more than McDonald's. When I eat McDonald's, it's like 1 hour later I think, oh, I'm hungry. That was something of the 70s, and it was called Smash, and it was absolutely revolting. I think my mum probably only bought it once, and basically it was powder. It was like powdered mash, and you basically mixed up the powder with water, and it was revolting. It didn't taste anything like mash, but that was hilarious because it was just completely different food in those days, and that was probably the first, what they call fast food. You didn't have fast food, you didn't have homemade anything frozen, so that was their first attempt at easy potatoes, I think. It was horrible. You loved your Nintendo. Yeah, I do. You was obsessed with that. You was obsessed. You never stopped playing it. We never had games like that. They never came out until the 1980s, and when they did come out, they looked like this. So that was our game, and literally you pinged one person pinged like that up and down, but we didn't know anything different, so we thought it was really, really exciting when it came out, but that wasn't until the 1980s. Beehive Bedlam. I do remember that. Do you remember me and Holly? We was obsessed with the Space Invaders. And I think as well you loved the video games because they were so visual, you know, and because you was deaf as well, obviously it was sort of very animated, and you didn't need to sort of hear what was going on. I think that's why you was just obsessed with it. But your experience of being outside was completely different to mine. When I was in the 70s, all the children in the street, everyone played outside all the time. You went outside about 9 o'clock in the morning in the school holidays, and you never came back home until about 6 o'clock at night. Your mum would make your lunch, or you'd come home for lunch, then you'd be out again. But and we did lots of things. We used to build camps and different things in the woods. They're on the phone or playing games all the time, and it's just not the same. Yeah, it's a shame for children these days because they don't have the fun and the imagination to make up games because they're all sitting in front of their phones. Yeah. When I grew up, I think we had like about 2 or 3 TV children's programs. I think it was the Wombles and Mr. Ben. It was very, very simple. There was nothing. Oh, that was funny. It was the summer of 1976, and there was a drought, which basically means all the water had dried up. There hadn't been any rain, and there was a massive water shortage. So people couldn't had their water switched off at home. There wasn't enough water to go around. So the ladies in the street, it was usually the ladies because the men were at work, they all had to queue up and stand there with their buckets, and there'd be like a main supply, and every day they'd queue up and walk home with the bucket of water for you to use that day. Yeah. I think technology is changing so much all the time. I dread to think what it will be like in about 50 years' time. Can't imagine. And it would be interesting in 30 years' time if someone's doing a video saying what it was like in the 2020s.